Then we continue on. We talked about last week Kaya Passaddhi. We talked about the tranquility of mind, Cetasikas. You know the difference between the mind and the mental states. When you get the calmness of mind, the mental states are also affected because the mental states are in the mind. It is like when the water is calm, everything below the water is also calm. But when the water starts to vibrate and shake, whatever in the water also vibrate and shake. So when the mind is peaceful, calm, so therefore the Cetasikas, the mental states, also remain peaceful and calm. So Citta Passaddhi, then the Kaya Passaddhi. In this case, it is not the body, it is the mental states. It is the calmness, the peacefulness of mind. And last week, I say that it arises whenever there is sati, one rising, there is peace and calm. It is there. Only thing is you can't recognize it because it is not strong. So when it is continuous, if the mindfulness is built up, rising, falling for 100 times, 1,000 times, the mind stays there, then the Passaddhi becomes strong. Then you can recognize, experience that peace and calmness of mind. Then you say, hey, I feel so peaceful. My sitting tonight is so peaceful. Yeah, some meditators have told me that. Many meditators, not only some, that there are some sitting when they feel very, very peaceful and calm. And I say that is very good. So the sati is strong. The sati has built up. So that's how we experience the Passaddhi, the Cetasikas, mental states. So tranquility, peacefulness has developed, become strong. And these are real. These exist in your mind. These are real. Only thing is you must train to use your mind to recognize this mental state. Then they become clear to you. Put your attention there. But if you don't use this mind to recognize this mental state, you could never recognize them. Even you experience them, but you don't recognize them unless they become very strong. Then you say, hey, yeah, I'm so peaceful and calm today, because they have become so strong. So you are forced to recognize them. Because now they are so big, objects come so big, small you cannot see, has come so big, like an elephant walking on the road. You have to see the elephant, there is no way you don't see it. But if it is a tiny mouse, you will see it, just run and disappear. But when it's an elephant, you have to see it, because it is your vision. It presents themselves in front of you. So the same with Passaddhi, it presents themselves, these Cetasikas, mental state, present in front of your mind. It's so strong that you recognize it. So this Passaddhi. And so is the lightness of mind and mental states. If you very light, very happy, when the light, it attracts the joy. And in this case, it is wholesome joy. When joy is attracted by the unwholesome mind, it is unwholesome joy. So joy becomes one, becomes neutral. You can join with wholesome, or you can join with unwholesome. But some Cetasika, They cannot join with unwholesome. They can only join with wholesome. They themselves wholesome. They only join with wholesome. And so is the unwholesome. They can only join with the unwholesome. They cannot join with the wholesome. Only the neutral one. And some of these neutral ones are important because they are the universal. They must cease before the other Cetasikas can join. So this is the Cetasikas that arises in the mind. Then we come to the Kaya Pagunnata. Now this comes in group. This comes in group because they affect. When this mind becomes strong, it affects the mental state. So it comes in group. Proficiency, adaptability, efficient of mental body, and Citta means the proficient of consciousness or mind. Now when our mind becomes very proficient, we put our mind there, stays proficient. It's like you put your mind to work, everything gets done, you finish it. But when the mind is not proficient, it just refuses to work. You can sit there for hours and hours, nothing gets done. So it's the mental state that is not proficient. So unwholesome mind has no proficiency. What? It cannot get into realization. It cannot get into samadhi. It cannot get in doing wholesome things. It is not proficient. It is lazy. It is restless. It is not knowing. It is a whole lot of useless mind. It's a lot of no proficiency. It can't work. The mind that cannot work. We talk about something wholesome, does not strike him at all. It does not work. The mind that doesn't work in wholesomeness, it cannot work. And you force him to see, he sees, but cannot see the rise and fall, he cannot see the feeling, cannot see the mind, cannot see the Dhamma. So there are times when our mind is not proficient, it doesn't work. Even though we try very hard to meditate, just refuse to meditate. So that is the unwholesome mind. Get very restless. The more you force it, the more it gets restless. The more it falls asleep. The more you try to make it see the rise and fall, then it starts to snore. It is not proficient. The wholesome one brings out the proficiency of the mind and become very proficient. Because the mind there, it works. And we have the Ujukata, the proficiency of the mind, and Ujukata, that means uprightness, straightness, honesty of mental, mind and body, Kaya and Citta. Now we have this uprightness of mind, that whenever there is wholesomeness in the mind is straight and righteous. It does not bluff, does not lie. Now a lot of time the mind justifies what we do, even when it is wrong. The mind justifies. It is alright to steal. He is so rich. He won't miss $100. But it makes a world of a difference to me. So it is not wrong to take 100, because he doesn't. It's nothing to him. He doesn't. $100 is nothing at all to him. He doesn't feel anything. So it's right to take. So the mind says that no uprightness. It is greed mind that arises. It always has will to say it is right, even when it is wrong. So when in quarreling, therefore the mind is never uprighteous. The mind is always saying, I am right, you are wrong, I am right because you do this wrong. The mind is never uprighteous. The mind is never seeing things properly. Is this beneficial? Is this wholesome? No, it doesn't see in this aspect. You only see in the aspect that whatever I think is not accordingly to what I think, it is wrong. So you only think like that. It always reason to one's own selfish motives. There is no this citta. Ujukata, there is no straightness of mind. When you're right, you're right. When you're wrong, you're wrong. When you're wholesome, you know you're wholesome. When you're unwholesome, you know you're unwholesome. When you're angry, you know this is unwholesome mind. You don't say it's alright to get angry because it's alright to kill. If you don't kill him, he kill you. So that is no uprightness. Uprightness means that it doesn't matter because he's ignorant. If he kill me, that's my karma. Finish with it. Oh, this is hard to do. This is hard to do. So depending on these Cetasikas, this mental state, how strong have you developed these type of mental states? How strong have you developed this type of mental states? So hard to practice. When this citta, Ujukata, when this uprightness mind is strong, then you know that the sati, the mindfulness, has become strong, and these two mind and mental states has developed. It comes in pain because it is strong. It influences the Cetasikas, the mental states. When these consciousness appear, it affects the mental states. It makes the other mental states exactly what it should do. Straighten up all the other mental states. Straighten up the faith. Straighten up all these other mental states. So uprightness, when the mind is wholesome, it is uprightness. When it is unwholesome, it is very crooked. We sometimes say, sly as a fox, very sly. So this is hard to develop. And of course, the Buddha, the Arahants, they are very, very straight. When they say one word, they really mean what they say. Not say one word, mean another word now. Say, I do not mean that, I mean this. I never mean that, I mean this. I never mean this, I mean that. It is like very crooked. This also can, that also can, both also can. It is like straightness. It is like that. It is like that. It is like that. It is like that. Yeah. strictness. I didn't say the untruth, which I really didn't say the untruth. That is there. If you want to punish me, if you want to harm me, hurt me, but I never do this thing. I never do the untruth, and that is there. So there is no such thing as white lies. White lies means there is no these mental states that I say. It is not strong. White lies means unwholesome mind. Even though it is a white lie, not a black lie or brown lie in between. It is unwholesome mind. Alright? So I have talked about the 19 types of beautiful mental state that comes together when mindfulness is present. So when you have every moment of rising and falling, all these 19 beautiful mental states is there in your mind. Only when it is developed, then you can see them clearly. But you must put your attention to this mental state, especially the mindfulness, because you are practicing mindfulness, so you should know what mindfulness is and how you can develop this mindfulness, especially in daily life. If you can't differentiate what mindfulness is and how do you cultivate them, how do you cultivate your mindfulness if you don't recognize them, if you do not know how they come about? So you must learn to recognize the mindfulness, right? And next week, again, I'll go into more mindfulness, its characteristics, how we recognize them, and the mindfulness that is in the Noble Eightfold Path. So our subject actually is the Noble Eightfold Path, and this sati in the Noble Eightfold Path is the sati in the four foundation of mindfulness. And so is it in the seven factors of enlightenment. It is this sati that is in the seven factors of enlightenment, the four foundations of mind and body, Dhamma Rupa. Alright, time's up.